Okay, so not too long ago, the drum lock company reached out to me and asked if I could do a review on their product. And at first I was like, I don't really use tension rod locks. I've kind of saw them as being gimmicky, and I never really saw a use for them. But I thought, you know, what the heck, I'll try them out and see what happens. So they sent me this little pack of their drum locks, and let's see how they work. So the way that these work is you unscrew the tension rods, not the lugs. It says lugs on the instructions, but you unscrew the tension rod, you put the drum lock on the tension rod, you tighten the drum to how you like it, tune it up, and then you bring the lock up and to the right, and then you snug that down, and that prevents it from detuning. Okay, so before I actually test these, let's just take a look at them. At first, I thought they were made out of nickel-plated brass just because they seemed pretty lightweight. That's actually what some keys are made out of. Like this one, you can see the nickel plating has worn through, and you can see the brass underneath it. But these are actually slightly magnetic, so I think they're actually some sort of stainless steel, but I could be wrong. It could be some other weird, you know, alloy material, but I think it's stainless. So if these are actually made out of stainless steel, these will definitely hold up over time and will not rust, and they will, you know, last. Alright, so forget everything I just said about these being stainless, because the more I thought about it, the more I convinced myself that these probably aren't made out of stainless steel. So I just did some more testing, so I took a file to it, and as you can hear and see, the file isn't cutting this material at all, so that tells me that it's really hard. And then just for comparison, this is a piece of mild steel, and you can see that the file has no problem cutting through it. So at this point, I still thought it was stainless, so I did a spark test with my grinder. And basically, when you do a spark test, you just, you know, observe the sparks that come off the material, and you can kind of judge what, you know, the metal is from the sparks. But of course, I hit it with the grinder, and there was no sparks. So it's obviously not stainless steel. And my first guess was correct. This is in fact nickel-plated brass. And also, I emailed them just to double check that it was nickel-plated brass, and they said it was. So I probably could have just emailed them to begin with. And now, another thing is, I don't think these are made to be used on a bass drum because, well, it works on this one because the claw is pretty short, but on a traditional style claw like this one, it really won't work. And then another thing is that these will not work on die-cast hoops. I mean, you can see here that on this Yamaha snare it won't fit, but even if it did fit, the way this is designed, there's nothing for that screw to butt up against to stop it from detuning. And then also in this older style rim, it won't fit. And then probably my biggest concern was the fact that the screws screw down onto the threads of the tension rods. And yes, I know some tension rods like this one, they have a shank before the threads, so I guess that's a better case scenario. But most tension rods are like this, where the threads go all the way up to the top of the head of the tension rod. And I understand that that part of the tension rod is never going to engage in the lug just because it's so close to the rim, but just knowing the fact that this thing could damage my tension rod and there will be, you know, a mark there, and, you know, especially over time, it'll get more chewed up. And also it says do not over tighten the screws on the package, but you know, drummers, they crank down on everything, so you know, it's gonna happen, and I just don't like that. Alright, so now let's actually test these things because obviously you want to know if they work. So later tonight I have a rehearsal and the show is about an hour long, so I'm gonna practice real quick and just play through all the music and give these things a test. But I have just one drum lock on the tension rod, which is this one, which is the tension rod that seems to detune the most just because that's where you hit the most. So you can see the line I drew, making a straight line from the rim to the head of the tension rod. So if it detunes at all, we'll be able to tell. And then on all the other tension rods, I have no drum lock on it, and it's marked the same way, so if these detune, then I'll be able to tell. So let me play some Christmas beats and see what happens. Just for the record, this music says, some cool snare thing. Brushes, question mark? So, yeah. Alright, so it's actually the next day. I kind of got sidetracked after I played through everything. Like I said, it was an hour's worth of music, but I haven't really touched this drum at all. So if we look at the tension rods that are marked, this one has detuned just a hair, if anything. I'll go over here. The Sharpie mark on the rim is gone, but that's gone about 1/4 of a turn, it looks like. And then this next one has gone, I believe, a 1/2 a turn, because if we look at the original shot, there was no Sharpie on this end of the tension rod, while that side is now over here. And then the one that really only matters is this one, because it has the drum lock on it, and that has not moved whatsoever. So, do these work? Yes, they do. Is there anything I'll change about them? Yes. Alright, so if I could change one thing about these, it would be that the screws wouldn't screw down directly onto the tension rod. Okay, so excuse the very elementary drawing, but if the flat part of the drum lock was extended to be like a keyway, like this, you could then put a little piece of plastic on the inside, and that would eliminate the screws from bearing down right onto the tension rod, and then you could put a little, piece of metal in between, so that would evenly distribute the pressure of the screws, and then it wouldn't chew up the plastic as much. But I understand that this idea is very, hard to make happen, just because this is already so small, and to make it like this would make it, big and bulky. And then on top of that, just the manufacturing costs for all this little stuff. And then on top of that, there's more parts they have to deal with, and you're more likely to lose them. So really, it doesn't make sense to do this unless you want to spend a whole bunch of money. But you gotta think, I was showing these on a snare drum that I built for, $70. But let's say I went out and bought a snare drum that costs $500. Or let's say you went out and bought a snare drum for $500. Would you put these on those tension rods knowing that you might put a little ding or dent on them? On your brand new $500 drum? That's up to you to decide. So, will I continue to use these? Probably not, and really it has nothing to do with the fact that, it has the possibility of messing up the tension rod. It's just, like I said before in the beginning of the video, I just never really saw a use for, tension rod locks. And again, that has nothing to do with this specific brand of tension rod lock. It's just any type of locking tuner, if you would call it that. Any type of tension rod lock. It's just one more thing you have to deal with, and especially with these, there's 2 screws per tension rod, so it's just another hassle to deal with. And keep in mind, that's just with my type of playing. I don't go out every other night and play a gig, so if you're gigging a lot, I would definitely suggest something like this. So with all of that being said, and you can see yourself using these drum locks, then today is your lucky day. They actually sent me another pack to give away to someone. So if you want to win these, all you have to do is go onto my Instagram page, follow me, then like my most recent photo, and I'll pick a winner randomly. So you'll have a week to do that, and then I'll pick the winner, so good luck. But yeah, as always, let me know what you think in the comments, and if you want to see more videos like this, be sure to like and subscribe. But that's it for this one. Thanks for watching.